Hello everybody, my name is Xavier Tony. For all things film and all things TV, this is the place to be. Welcome to the first episode of the Film Ignite podcast. In this episode, we are going to be talking and reviewing and discussing my favorite horror movie of all time, Saw. Now, before we start talking about the 2004 version of Saw, which everyone knows today, I just want to discuss the 2003 short film that started this entire franchise. Now, most people refer to Saw as the original Saw as Saw 0.5. Now, Saw 0.5 also stars Leigh Whannell in the lead role, and it's essentially a short film encompassing the entire premise and concept of the Saw movies that we got today, but the entire film only has a runtime of about 10 minutes. And the entire film is essentially the scene in the original Saw movie where Amanda is put in the reverse bear trap. Now, this movie is basically Leigh Whannell, whose character in the film is named David. And he's in the interrogation room, and he's talking to this detective who's asking him, why did you do this? Why did you kill him? Why? And then, you get this entire flashback scene of David, who got kidnapped and is put into the chair, the reverse bear trap chair, which is the iconic trap from the Saw series that we all know and love. It's even on one of the new edition posters that they had for the 10th anniversary. So, we all know what happens. He has to kill the person in the room with him who he's told is dead. And he's told that the key is in his stomach and he has to cut open the guy's stomach. But the guy isn't actually dead. He's been medicated, so he just couldn't move. And the entire premise set up here is well done for a short film because you still get the classic lines about being grateful for being alive. And at the end of the film, the detective asks him, "Are you grateful?" And this really sets the stage for the future of the Saw franchise, in my opinion. Now, the story of how this movie got made is actually really quite interesting as well because Leigh Whannell and James Wan had been working on the script for a long time. And after the short film was made, some people from the studio Lionsgate really liked the movie and they picked it up for a full feature release. And now we have one of the biggest and most popular horror franchises of all time. And it started out as just a small short film and grew into something massive, which is honestly such an inspiring story. Coming from an aspiring filmmaker myself, it's honestly just incredible to hear a story like this, where two guys, they worked hard on something and eventually they saw their true vision come to light, and in such an incredible fashion, having their whole, short film turned into a feature film, turned into a iconic horror franchise is honestly quite incredible. So now we come to the year 2004. It's October 29th and Saw is released in theaters. Now, I gotta start off by saying that Saw 1 at the moment is probably my favorite horror movie of all time. At the moment, before I talk about that, but part of the reason I love this movie so much is due to the fact that sequels do exist, like I was talking about before. And for the most part, I really enjoy the sequels as well, but part of my brain just cannot disconnect what Saw 1 did for the franchise. So that has to give a point to my book for being the first one to start off something amazing. Alright, so now let's talk about Saw. Why is Saw my favorite horror movie of all time? Well, there are many reasons. The biggest reason I love this movie so much is due to the simplistic nature of it all. Now, without getting into too much discussion about the future sequels, which I want to do for future episodes, I do believe that as the series went on, the stories became so complicated, convoluted, and hard to follow at times, compared to the original Saw. This is not to say that those sequels didn't work, but the original Saw had such a simplicity to it that the other films do not. The opening scene of this movie where Adam gets aware of his surroundings and the lights flash on, revealing the iconic bathroom the majority of this movie takes place in, is phenomenal because it sets the stage for the next hour and 45 minutes of the absolute hellhole we as the audience are going to be stuck inside, along with Adam and Lawrence. Something about the simplistic nature of the setting and overall plot for this movie is just so captivating to me. Just the log line, two guys trapped in a bathroom with a dead guy in between them must try to escape before time runs out. It's a truly beautiful way to summarize such a dreadful movie. Now, that's not the official log line, but something along those lines is what James Wan described the movie in like 2 sentences in an interview, and honestly I thought it was brilliant. One thing that I do understand is that people have a very hard time with is the fact that the movie was shot on a budget of 1.2 million. This is a very low budget for a film, even for a Saw movie, in which Saw 2 had a budget of 4 million, and each subsequent film after that had a budget of 10 million or higher. So it's clear that the budget for Saw definitely impacts the viewer experience. The low budget that they had definitely restricts them to the locations that they had access to and how far they could take the story. This restriction also helped them keep the story simple, and seeing them overcome that challenge of a low budget and still create a classic just adds so much to the story of this movie, and how well it was made makes me love it even more. Now, the low budget does have its cons, however, as let's face it, there are parts of this movie where the low budget is so evidently obvious, like scenes that were supposed to look like car chases when Detective Tapp is chasing Zepp, and it so obviously looks like a soundstage with smoke machines blasting around them, or the scenes that they obviously couldn't reshoot and just had to stick with the take of Leigh Whannell and Kari Elwes' terrible acting in some scenes. But, don't get me wrong, I do think they're both fantastic in this movie. It's just that there are some certain scenes where they could have greatly benefited from a reshoot, where Adam starts to sound like a whiny teenager and Lawrence starts to sound like a pouting dog. It's honestly quite funny when you watch the movie. It's kind of funny to just cringe at those parts and laugh about it, but on top of that, they both got to try and hide their British and Australian accents, and that honestly just put on top of everything else, trying to make some of the things they say come out kind of funny, just because of how they pronounce certain words. Now, overall, it doesn't bother me. I can look past it. I have seen this movie enough times to understand and forgive those parts, and given the budget and time they had to film, I cannot even blame them. But showing some of this movie in 2021 could be a bit difficult because of these things, and it definitely might turn some people away. The low budget also does affect the look of the movie, as majority of the film has this greenish blue tint around it, mostly due to all the artificial lighting used on sets, presumably. Another thing that kind of bugs me about this movie is the audio mix is kind of atrocious. There are moments in this movie that are so quiet when they should be at a level of a normal conversation. Don't even get me started on the scenes where Adam and Lawrence are whispering to each other. You can barely hear any of that, but on top of that, the music and sound effects are so loud that it's actually painful to listen to on high volume. It gets kind of annoying, and you do get used to it, but the gunshots, the hacksaw sawing, and actually the part of the audio mix that annoys me the most is where Amanda is in the reverse bear trap. We were seeing a jigsaw trap in action for the first time, but the jigsaw message is played at such a low volume compared to the sound of the bear trap snapping in the video, followed by the subsequent blasting soundtrack and screaming mixed with frantic editing. It just all doesn't mix well, and there's some parts of the movie are kind of annoying because you got to either adjust the volume or just let it ride through. Honestly, the audio mix in this movie is not very good, but like I said, these are excusable things because of the low budget they had, but I still gotta mention it. And alright, I know it sounds like I've been ragging on this movie for a long time, but these are all my opinion and valid complaints in my opinion. For me personally, they don't deter from the overall experience and enjoyment that I had while watching, and still do to this day, because I understand the history of making the film and what they had to work with, so I can understand. Now, the characters of Adam and Lawrence are some of the best we've gotten in the entire Saw franchise, and I truly mean this, and it makes sense given that we spend nearly the entire movie with either of them, either present day in the bathroom or through a series of flashbacks, giving us insight into their lives and what got them in this place. And the way flashbacks were used in this movie has become a staple of the Saw franchise, but in this movie, it works so well because how else are we supposed to get backstory on these two guys who are trapped in one location? The use of flashbacks annoys some people in movies, but for me it worked, and the way the story was told in a non-linear fashion, leaving certain details out until key moments in the film, also works to its advantage, and you pick up on new things within the flashbacks as you rewatch. These elements all work together to tell the stories of Adam and Lawrence, and like I said before, these are two great characters we're getting to spend our time with. Adam, who is again played by Leigh Whannell perfectly, is a great character because he's so normal and relatable. We get a lot of Saw characters in future movies that all seem like over-the-top caricatures, if you know what I'm talking about. But what makes Adam so great, specifically, is he's just a seemingly regular guy who got caught up in the wrong business. Not to get ahead of myself here, but that is what makes the ending of this film so great. I've held off long enough without talking about the ending, but with that final reveal that the guy in the middle is alive the entire time is a fantastic twist, and it makes this movie for me, and it honestly certifies it as a classic. I'd even go down as far to say that the plot twist in this movie is not only one of the best in horror history, but movie history in general. And one thing that makes this twist so great is not only how insane and shocking it is, but also how bleak, dreadful, and devastating it is. I get literal chills and goosebumps every time the main theme, Hello Zep, starts playing at the end of Saw. It is that good. Every once in a while, I just gotta visit the clip on YouTube. That's just the ending of Saw. It's incredible. The ending works because of the way Adam was set up as a character, and hearing his blood-curdling screams at the end is truly horrifying to me. You know, there aren't many movies in general that have actually upset me or scared me. And to be honest, the entirety of Saw is actually not very scary. Is it messed up and disturbing and at times hinted to a lot of gore? Yes, but I personally do not find gore scary. What I do find scary is being told that you were inches away from freedom, but your only shot of getting out was sucked down a drain, and now you're being locked away in a dirty warehouse bathroom, chained to a pipe, and left to rot. Just saying that out loud makes me shiver because of how messed up and disturbing that is, and Leigh Whannell absolutely sells it with that amazing scream at the end. Like I said before, his character, and there are times where he feels like not just a character, just not a character, just a guy you'd meet on the street. He has some funny moments and making jokes and stuff just really made his character more likable and relatable. So hearing all that emotion come out of Adam at the end of the movie is just terrifying. So kudos to Leigh Whannell for selling that scream, because without it, the ending of this movie would not be as impactful and powerful as we remember it to be. Now, Lawrence Gordon is also a great character, and at its essence, it's a story we've seen and heard a million times. A man who would do anything to save his family, but in this case, there's a twist put on the classic telling of the story because Lawrence is partly to blame for his family getting into the situation in the first place due to his affair. Now, one point I like to make is that as the Saw franchise went on, the reasons for people being put in traps always seemed to get more and more extreme. So when compared to this movie, where the two main reasons for being tested are cheating and stalking, it makes it kind of hard to justify Jigsaw's reasonings. Now that's also what makes Jigsaw a compelling character, because his overall message of what would you do to stay alive is truly a great message, and putting people to the test who may not deserve to live is a genius idea, but at his essence, he is still a psychopath at heart, and it makes for a brilliant character because he's got a point and he's going to execute and do something about it, but he's doing it in all the wrong ways. Now when people think of Saw, now all they seem to think about is that they're torture movies, to which to some extent some of the films have become, but at its essence, the original Saw was trying to tell a deeply compelling story with philosophical questions about life, death, and what lengths would you do in order to stay alive or protect the ones you love. That is another reason Saw stands the test of time and remains the best of the entire franchise, because it poses interesting and difficult questions, puts the audience in the shoes of its main characters, lets us discover the mystery, and has us question what would we do in this situation. And a lot of these questions are sometimes better left unanswered, which, in my opinion, I feel like a lot of the future movies in the franchise tried to over-explain everything and had to have a good reason for everything and have it all tied up in a nice little bow. But he may have some good ideology, but in the end, he, in my eyes, is still a psychopathic murderer who tests people in his sick games. And the beauty in this, though, is that a villain was crafted with character and substance that allows this character to grow over the course of the franchise, with even more philosophical questions to be asked and answered. The ideology of Jigsaw and his desire to test people on their will to live, who otherwise may not deserve to live, is a fantastic side for a villain to take because it lets the audience see both sides. However, I do disagree with the line that Lawrence says in the movie where he basically says, Jigsaw never killed anyone, he lets his victims kill themselves. Well, first off, he let Adam rot in the bathroom. That's technically killing him, plus putting people inside a razor wire cage is basically killing them, and locking them in if they don't complete your sick game in enough time is basically killing them. Giving someone a candle to find a code while you put an antidote in their body is basically killing them, and having someone kill a doctor's family because you put a poison in their body is basically killing them. But whatever, I think the films do this in an attempt for the audience to possibly root for Jigsaw or see the good in what he's doing, but I wish the film went more the route of he is for sure a crazy psychopathic killer, because you see the parts where the detectives are, when we first are hearing about him, he's being described as this crazy, sick psychopath. But, when we're in the bathroom, Lawrence, Dr. Gordon, he's the guy sort of giving the other side of the Jigsaw story, which is trying to be portrayed for the audience, which I think was definitely done on purpose in the script. And I think if it wasn't for that side of things, and we only got Jigsaw to be the psychopathic killer, it wouldn't have worked as well. But I think they could have found, I don't know, a different way to do it. Because the way, Gordon just outright says, he doesn't kill his victims, he gets his victims to kill themselves. I kind of don't agree with that. And especially, you're in one of his games, so I wouldn't think that either. But honestly, yeah, I don't even know if you could consider that a criticism, what I just said. It's just sort of me just rambling about the ideologies of Jigsaw and how it was physically incorporated into the movie to be projected onto the audience, for how the director and the writers wanted us to perceive Jigsaw after this movie. Yeah, they obviously wanted that implied in the script so audiences would pick up on it, but that's just how I would have done it. Like I mentioned before, Saw is often known and referred to by many as torture movies, and while I do believe some of the movies went overboard and truly started missing the point of Jigsaw, there is still a bigger picture here, and that is shown by this film in particular, which, obviously due to the budget issues, contains the least violence and gore out of any of the Saw movies. We do see lots of pain inflicted, just not violently or ending in a shower of blood, and there are many implications of severe pain that quickly, that quick flashy 360 cam thing that the Saw movies always do when their victims are in the traps. But overall, this movie's super light on the gore, and that's what makes it even better, in my opinion. It makes it better because when Lawrence is on his last rope, his last string, and he finally breaks and grabs that hacksaw and absolutely goes to town on his foot, it is a masterclass in horror filmmaking and acting. That entire sequence where Lawrence reaches his last straw, having essentially a mental breakdown before losing it entirely and sawing off his own foot, is such a great moment, and sets the stage for the finale. And to a lot of people, it's probably what they know or remember the original Saw for. The guy who saws off his foot. The way that sequence is filmed is so brilliantly, partly due to how little we actually see of Lawrence cutting his foot, compared to the agony we see from Cary Elwes, who is really selling it, and the horror of Lee Winnell watching from a distance, knowing there's nothing he can do, and he's terrified for his life as well. And it really is up until the last 20 minutes or so of the movie that I remember most, just because of how intense and terrifying it is, because the majority of this movie has been a slow burn, and we're finally getting the explosion of all the pent-up horrors that we've seen thus far. One of my favorite sequences in all of the Saw franchise and is this sequence right here, and it remains a big reason why this movie is a classic. We've talked about a lot of various aspects of the film, but another thing that would not make this film, without it, this film wouldn't be a classic. It's the iconic Saw theme, Hello Zep, and just the overall score of this movie. The theme, Hello Zep, that plays during the final twist and end reveal of this movie is absolutely incredible in every single aspect that it plays out. It gives me chills every time I hear it in this movie, and it truly has become a staple of the entire franchise. I'm pretty sure every single Saw movie has had that theme, and it's usually at the end when the holy crap moment is happening and everything is slowly being unraveled for the big final twist and reveal, and your jaw's going to be on the floor. And it's a really good composed theme, and it really elevates the levity and impact that the twist has as it plays out on film. Honestly, just a cherry on top of an already amazing film, just really adding that final punch at the end there. And yeah, so I've talked so much about everything I love about this movie. I've also discussed some things that I didn't like about it. So yeah, that is my review, discussion, analysis, whatever you like to call it, on the 2004 classic, my favorite horror movie of all time, Saw. I'm hoping to want to talk about the other Saw movies, the sequels, in future episodes, but this is the first episode of the Film Ignite podcast. The Film Ignite podcast is meant to ignite discussion about films and TV, and that's what I want to do here today. I want to get you guys talking. What are your opinions? What are your thoughts on Saw, the 2004 movie? That's going to be it for me today. everybody. So I just want to say, if you're listening to this is episode 1. This podcast is going to be something great. I'm going to put a lot of work into this. I'm going to improve every episode. Every script is going to be better than the next. I hope you have an amazing day, an amazing night, an amazing week, an amazing rest of your life. If you're on the first episode of our new podcast and you made it to the end, you're a real one. So thank you everybody for listening to the first episode of the Filming Night podcast. For all things movies and all things TV, this is the place to be. See you next time.